Okay, you know we like to start a little early. It is Lady in the Legend Day. However, the legend needs a nap. So let's see, we're just going to wait for the sound here like we do every single day. That's why we start a little bit early, but so Lenny's fine. He's just taking a day off. Say hello, Leonard.
I did.
Who'd you say hello to?
I said good morning, all. Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to wait for the sound like we always do. Where are you going, Leonard? He likes it. Okay. Waiting for the sound so we can tell you all about the Phillies and the Astros and the suspensions and everything. So, good morning to everybody. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. I am sorry that it takes a minute for the sound to come through. We should do some commercials, some paid advertisements and stuff, but we don't. We just do it free, so I make up my own commercials as I go. We're going to say hi to the chat room here in just a minute.
Nothing perfume.
Nothing perfume.
When you go out, make sure you wear nothing.
Check for sound, Leonard. I'm checking for sound, Leonard. Do 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 da 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 da. Why is the sound taking so long? Hello?
There you go.
It'll be there.
Sound is on.
Okay, do you know what to do, Leonard?
Mm-hmm.
Sound is good. All right, sound is good. Refresh. All right, so glad to hear, SM King Turd, that you're less cranky today. Hello to Boston Paul. Getting ready to go on a road trip with his wife, Diana. Have a great time up at your sister-in-law's house, and don't get yourself in any trouble. I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Good morning to Mal Pal. Good morning to Tina. Good morning to Chris from Cambridge, Chris Gallo, Eddie Heckman. Great to see that you made it back in time for the podcast today. James K., Tommy Johnson, Boston Paul, Triple Play, and the cast of thousands. So, hey, I know you're all wondering why I'm by myself today, and that's okay. We're not really by myself. Lenny is here. He's in the chat room, so you guys have a great time chatting it up with Lenny. He just needed a break, When you do the podcast 7 days a week, sometimes you need a little break. So I hope I'm not disappointing y'all by having just me today. But if you have anything to say or have questions for Lenny, of course he's here, and he'll be right there in the chat room with you. Good morning to Debbie Gallo. Hopefully she's not watching the kids. Well, hopefully she is. I know the grandkids are a great thing, so... it looks beautiful there. The sky is so blue and pretty. It looks like a crisp autumn day, Boston Paul. Thanks for joining me today. So, teams are now 4-1 with an 800 win percentage when they ground into at least 3 double plays in the postseason over the last 5 years. That's crazy. Bryce Harper now playing like crazy between him and Schwarber. They're like a 2-man wrecking team, okay? So, 29 out. What is that? Oh, it's 29 degrees. Okay, yes, it looks very crisp and cool over there. Bryce Harper, second player in MLB postseason history with a home run and a stolen base. Hello, Laura. Great to see you, my lady. And Mary, hopefully you're joining us too. You get a day off from the great zoo, the Brooklyn Zoo. Triple Play, I already said hi to, but we can say hi again. Anyway, great to see y'all. Second player in postseason history with a home run and a stolen base of home in the same game. He joins Randy Arozarena, who did it in 2021. Chris from Cambridge says it's 5 degrees in Cambridge, Ontario. Oh boy, did our summer leave us quick. The Cubbies, Leonard Donaldson, great to see you. You're probably in a great mood today, my friend. We have another game today that we're going to preview. We're going to talk about the game from yesterday, the Arizona Diamondbacks against the Phillies. And you know the Philly fans are still in attendance, even at Chase Bank Park, 3,000 miles away. That's probably an exaggeration. Maybe 2,000 miles away. Anyway, I wish Unholy was here. We would talk about the Cubbies, who are discussing with Kyle Hendricks about a contract extension. Now, I'd like to hear from you guys in the chat room. Do you think the Cubbies should extend Kyle Hendricks? I mean, look, I'm Kyle Hendricks' biggest fan, but I have to even say that he has not been a great fantasy guy, and that's how we take the angle here. We talk about fantasy. Leonard sneaking ice cream while I'm on the podcast. Kyle Schwarber, 461 feet home run yesterday, and Bryce Harper, 444-foot home run. They're the fourth pair of teammates in the last 15 years to each hit 440 feet home runs in the same playoff game, and they're second to do it in the same inning. The last ones to do it was Freddie Freeman and Ronald Acuna in the ninth inning versus the Cardinals in the 2019 National League Division Series. Chris from Cambridge could see Kyle Hendricks and his Colorado Rockies. Yeah, well, is he done? Should he just quit now? I mean, should he retire before it gets so ugly that it makes his career stats look bad? I mean, these are what pitchers really have to think about when they start getting up there in age. They've been around for a long time and their career stats are good, and they just keep playing because they don't know what else to do with themselves, and then their career stats look junky. Kyle Schwarber, his fifth home run of this series. He's the third player all time with 5 or more home runs in a single league championship series. Nelson Cruz had 6 in 2011, and Corey Seager had 5 in 2020. The two Zachs yesterday, Gallen versus Wheeler. One was great, the other one not so great. Phillies are 6-0 at home this postseason, but 1-3 on the road. All 3 losses have been by just 1 run. Kyle Schwarber has 93 regular season and 10 postseason home runs over the last 2 seasons. He's the only player in history with 90-10. Guess Triple Play says he'll pass on Hendricks. Glad to see you're home, Eddie. I know your plane didn't get home till late last night. Glad to see you made it. Gallen has now allowed multiple first-inning runs in 3 starts this postseason, including both starts this series. He did that 3 times during the regular season and 3 times in the playoffs. So, can we chalk this up to Gallen being Kershaw in the playoffs? Gallen cannot pitch good in the playoffs. I know he doesn't have a lot of experience, okay? But there's a question as to whether or not this guy is setting the stage for just being bunk in the postseason. 3 singles and a double steal staked Phillies 2-0 lead against Arizona in the first inning of yesterday's game, Game 5 of the National League Championship Series. They gave Zach Wheeler early run support against Gallen, and that was very important for Phillies. They got 2 runs in the first, is as good of a start as they could have asked for. And Wheeler's big performance shows again he's one of the best free agent pitcher signings ever. And you look, Laura, at the Mets, and they decided they weren't going to pay for this guy. Good grief. You don't have to be a longtime Mets fan to know how crummy they are when it comes to trades and signings. They give up players. They refuse to pay for players. They let them go, and then they turn into superstars. On the other side, they acquire and they pay and they do all this. They're like, the Mets might as well just sign A.J. Preller, right, Malpal? Because they are horrible at signings, at trades, and all of the above. Just stick Preller over with the Mets and call it a day. Zach Wheeler What, Leonard?
No, nothing.
Zach Wheeler has a .73 whip in 10 career postseason starts, and that's the lowest in any 10 start span in postseason history, and it's his first 10. All right, next on the list is Verlander with a .76, okay, from 2013 to 2018. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber have combined for 22 home runs in the last two postseason, 11 each. That's the most combined home runs by a duo over a 2-year span in the playoffs in MLB history. Laura says, ugh. Wilson era. Hopefully better with Cohen. She meant Wilpon era. Spell check likes to correct things that aren't messed up. Hello to All-Star Dog. Wonderful to see you today. Thanks for joining us. You know, I got to give credit to All-Star Dog, who joined in our first year of a American League only keeper league, right? We keep 5 minor leaguers and we keep 5 regular players. It's more of a dynasty league, really, because you keep a lot of players and you have a minor league roster where you get to put players who have a certain number of innings pitched or at-bats, right? So, Stardog, in his first season, which was 2022 in the American League, he was very, very annoyed because he tried so hard and his team came in close to last, if not last. Well, this past year, he managed to go from either second to last or last all the way up to third place. He placed in our American League only, so I will give you lots of congratulations to Stardog. He said part of the reason he had so much trouble was because he was learning a new site in Fangraphs. You know, I could blame Fangraphs for all the problems that we have, but I have to take some of the credit because I'm just not good at setting up these leagues. The reason we play there is so we could do slow drafts and keeper leagues, but honestly, they have so many settings and I can't figure them out, so I'm going to do, for the 3rd season in a row, they say 3rd time's a charm. I hope I can nail it this time. Otherwise, I'm going to be having to babysit teams again like I did last year. Thanks to Boston Paul for helping me. Anyway, great job to Stardog. All right? The Phillies are the 4th team with 2 440 feet home run in a postseason. That's since 2015, since StatCast started. The Phillies have a 1.48, all right, starters ERA so far this postseason, and that's the lowest by any team starters in its first 11 games of a postseason. Phillies are a beast of a team, and that the Diamondbacks are hanging with them speaks volumes, okay? They are a very young team, and you got to give them credit where credit's due because they are a monster. Bryce Harper's teams have now won 11 straight postseason games in which he's homered. That's the longest such streak all time. Yeah, you think you'll help me till you actually go in there and take a look and you have no clue what they're talking about, but I'll let you help me, that's fine. The Phillies have trailed, and then I could blame you when it goes bad. The Phillies have trailed at the end of only 8 full innings this postseason, and that's the fewest over any 11-game span with a single postseason. Kyle Schwarber, 20 postseason homers in 63 games. It's the fewest games to 20 postseason home runs, surpassing Altuve, who needed 68 games to get to 20 postseason homers. Ketel Marte has a 14-game hitting streak to start his postseason career. Still, the second longest streak to start a postseason career ever. You gotta love Eovaldi, turd. You just gotta love him. And honestly, I agree with you. We couldn't ask for a better starter than Eovaldi on the mound in the postseason. So take that. Diamondbacks are tied with the Cubs for the most home runs from players aged 23 or younger in a single postseason. With Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Nick Castellanos, the Phillies are the 3rd team in postseason history with 3 players who have 5 or more home runs in a single postseason. They joined last year's Phillies, okay? It was Harper, Hoskins, and Schwarber, and also the 2017 Astros, who had Altuve, Correa, and Springer. Kyle Schwarber, 5 home runs so far in this National League Championship Series. That's tied for the second most in a single series in postseason history, behind only Nelson Cruz, who had 6 in 2011. Zach Wheeler up to 33 strikeouts this postseason. That's the most in a 4-outing span in Phillies postseason history. He's pitched 9 innings in the National League Championship Series and allowed only 1 extra base hit, which was a home run in Game 1. The Phillies also have 4 games with multiple stolen bases this postseason. It's the most in a single postseason in franchise history. The Diamondbacks are 16-8 in postseason at Chase Field. It's a .667 win percent and currently stands as tied for the second best record in any postseason for any team in any park. And guess who they trail? Only the Phillies, Citizens Bank Park, right? So they're number 2 at home. The Phillies are number 1 at home. They have a .718 winning percentage, 28-11 record. Bryce Harper told John Morosi after the game that Bryson Stott is the best second baseman in the league. What do you think about that, chat room? He says that Stott's impact was everywhere in the Phillies Game 5 win. Phillies 1 win from the pennant. You think Bryson Stott's the best second baseman in the league? Harper is usually spot on with these things, but of course he's probably a little biased since he has Stott on his team. Corbin Carroll, here's the deal. He's been on first base 40 different pitches, and he's not tried to steal on any one of them this in this National League Championship Series. 40 pitches, he's been on first, and he's not tried to steal. Is Corbin Carroll hurt? That's a question for the chat room. Because when a guy like him just stops stealing bases, he's either extremely tired or hurt, and it's hard to believe someone his age could be that tired in such an adrenaline series that we're having right now. But this guy has just died stealing. He's not stealing. That's the point. Brian Abreu now, King Turd, has been suspended 2 games, which, holy moly, is a big deal, okay, in the postseason, for intentionally throwing at Adolis Garcia. Look, I would agree with the guys on MLB TV that I heard today saying, well, MLB must know something, or they wouldn't have suspended him. And I say, bull dinky and poppycock. Number one, you can't prove intent. I doubt the guy is out there bragging about intentionally throwing at him. I don't know whether he did or not, but I'm certainly not going to leave it up to MLB to tell me what's going on. They screwed up the Trevor Bauer thing so bad that I don't trust anything they do. They're so bad at penalizing people. They give one punishment to one guy, another punishment to another guy. They don't follow any kind of precedent. This whole idea of getting suspended for 2 games in the last 2 games of the series, right? What could be. And they need this guy. And I know that Turd is probably pleased, and he definitely agrees with MLB that this fool intentionally pitched at Garcia. And I think that King Turd probably wants blood after this. I think he wants to take it out on Yordan Alvarez. Look, that's a fandom talking. I still don't trust MLB, and I don't know how in the world they could prove intent on that pitch. It seems to me that it was a real bad decision if it was intentional, because even though they came back to win the game, they were down 2 runs. There was no outs. There was a runner on first already. Like, who does that? Anyway, it's a pretty big suspension, even though it's only 2 games. It's still a big deal to the Houston Astros, I'll tell you that. I want to hear from you, Leonard Donaldson. So, Adolis Garcia, I just had to put this quote in here so I could just let you hear a quote from the media vultures, right? They're clearly just livid. They are in unison on this, okay? They hate the fact that Bryan Abreu was suspended. And honestly, I don't really agree with it either. But the way that they phrase things is just unbelievable. Here's the quote. This is from the sports media vultures, okay? Adolis Garcia pushed players. He pushed an umpire and quite literally incited that entire fiasco, and he only gets a fine. Meanwhile, Bryan Abreu, who knows better than to intentionally hit a guy down 2 in a pivotal ALCS game, gets suspended. This might be the most blatant example of the league screwing the Astros and only the Astros over. So there you go. I mean, whether you agree with them or not, they are all in unison with this idea that Garcia is the one to blame. He should have been suspended. Bryan Abreu was the good guy, right? He never would have intentionally thrown at that guy. So, I mean, look, again, you can't prove intent, but the media vultures are absolutely livid about Bryan Abreu getting suspended, which makes me lean towards, I like it. Okay. All right, here we go. No more of that. Let's move on to the recap from yesterday. And boy, oh boy, how many times do I have to mention Kyle Schwarber, right? Kyle Schwarber got a hanging breaking ball at the top of the strike zone in the 6th inning, and he did what he does so well in the postseason. He obliterated a baseball deep into the seats for another home run. Wheeler delivered another postseason gem, 7 shutdown innings. Schwarber, Harper, Real Muto, they all homered, and the Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 6-1 to take a 3-2 National League Championship Series lead. Philly moved within 1 game from its 2nd straight World Series appearance. Bryson Stott hit an RBI single, and Harper slid home in a collision with the catcher Gabriel Moreno as part of a double steal that built a 2-0 lead in the first off of Zach Gallen. Harper had 2 hits, 3 runs, a diving defensive play, and his absolutely crushed homer. He's batting .343 with 5 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 12 walks in 11 postseason games. 12 walks? Are they intentionally walking this guy in the postseason? I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that. But you're in the postseason. You need to be where the men are. You can't be intentionally walking guys because you're scared of what they might do to you. Right?
Big Al and Mitchell.
Hello, Mitchell. Is Merrill here? Oh, Big Al. Great to see you. Happy Sunday to you. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Bryson Stott hit it. Okay, we already talked about that. Now let me just move on here. Schwarber's homer was his 5th in NLCS and 20th of his postseason career. The Philly lineup roughed up Gallen for a second time this series. I told you Schwarber's homer traveled 461 feet over the swimming pool. Okay? Yesterday or the day before, he hit it into the swimming pool. Now he's just flying it over the swimming pool. The crowd at Chase was 47,897, and only 2 batters later, after Schwarber flew over the swimming pool, Harper hit 444 feet homer into the right field seats. Real Muto added a 2-run homer in the 8th against Luis Frias for the 6-1 lead. The Phillies' last 16 home runs were all solo shots, okay? Their last 16 home run solo shots until Real Muto hit a 2-run blast. This postseason, the Phillies have hit 23 homers and 19 of them have been solo. The series resumes tomorrow in Philly, okay, where the fans are pumped, right? And the Phillies are 6-0, and they have 17 homers. Now, Wheeler, he gave up 1 run and 5 hits with a walk. He struck out 8. He's 3-0 with a 2.08 ERA in 4 postseason starts this year. He's striking out 34, and he only walked 2 in 26 innings. This guy's amazing. I don't know if he compete. So, Who would you rather have in the postseason as your pitcher, Eovaldi or Wheeler? Now, don't answer quickly. I know you're going to say Wheeler because he's the higher-ranked pitcher on the board, but you got to look at Eovaldi's postseason stats, man. This guy doesn't mess around, okay? Philadelphia's starting pitchers have a 1.48 ERA in this postseason with 67 strikeouts and just 7 walks in 61 innings, okay? Their pitching has been great. Unfortunately for Texas Rangers fans, they have the worst ERA, bullpen ERA of any of the 4 teams, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I really want Texas to hang in there, even though it's pretty dire at this point. Gallen gave up 4 runs and 6 hits. He still did make it 6 innings, but he's 2-2 now with a 5.24 ERA in 4 playoff outings. Now, imagine this. Remember the other day when Alek Thomas pinch hit home run, okay, in the 9th inning or the 8th inning, okay, basically won the game. This guy is not a home run hitter. He homered yesterday again. He has a team record 4 homers this postseason, okay? Alek Thomas. Schwarber batting .412 with 5 solo homers in the series. We told you he reached 20 postseason homers in 63 games. It's the best record ever. Harper's steal of home was the first in Phillies postseason history and just the 22nd in MLB postseason history. It was the 9th steal of home since playoffs started in 1969 and the first since Tampa Bay's Arozarena stole home in 2021. Pavin Smith went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts in his first start of the postseason. They were batting him 5th as the designated hitter. Tommy Pham was benched after hitting 1 of 13 in the first 4 games of the National League Championship Series. Smith entered 3 of 4 this postseason. Now, even though temperatures were around 100 degrees in Phoenix, you know they have a retractable roof, and it was probably a nice, comfortable 77 or 78. Great to see you, Danny Fuller, and Teresa, and Penny, and everybody's wife. You know I like to say hello to the ladies. Okay. Oh, we have some, look, I love the conversation. I love the back and forth. I love the debate. We absolutely encourage everybody to say exactly how they feel about something. And you can do that and know that you have that right here. So, Danny Fuller, great to see you. Captain Danny, good morning to Penny. Let's talk about the game tonight. No, first we're going to tell you who's pitching tomorrow. It's Aaron Nola, right? He's going up against Merrill Kelly tomorrow. Aaron Nola is 3-0 with a .96 ERA this postseason, and Merrill Kelly is 1-1 with a 3 ERA for the Diamondbacks. Tonight is Eovaldi, postseason record 3-0, 2.29 ERA and 24 strikeouts, going up against Framber Valdez, who's 0-2 with an 11.57 ERA and 11 strikeouts. Now, who on this team is good against Eovaldi? Okay? The only one that's good against Eovaldi is Alec Bregman, who in 11 at-bats has 2 RBIs and 1 home run, batting .545 against Eovaldi. Also, Yordan Alvarez is pretty good against him. And only 6 at-bats, he's got 2 RBIs and a home run, batting .667. So, also, and that's it. That's the only 2 Houston hitters that stand a chance against this Eovaldi. Now, who on the Rangers is great against Valdez? He's only pitched 1 time this postseason, so you got Jonah Heim, our wonderful, reliable youngster behind the plate. In 2 at-bats, he's got a home run and an RBI, batting .500. Mitch Garver, okay, another catcher, in 2 at-bats, batting .500. Adolis Garcia, 1 RBI and 1 at-bat against Framber. None of this makes any different, what I'm telling you right now. So why am I even bothering with it? I just am trying to preview the game today, and I don't know what else to say. All I know is that Eovaldi's a monster. This Josh Young, he didn't get enough credit throughout the season as being the MVP for this team. I really believe that he is. If Jonah Heim isn't, it's Josh Young. Even though you got guys like Garcia who banged out all kinds of homers, and you got Semien out there who's a veteran presence, excellent in the field, taking charge. You got Nathaniel Lowe, Corey Seager. How do you even forget about him? Now, this team is not out of it yet. They're going home. They got Evan Carter, okay? I'm rooting for the Rangers in case you can't tell. Although, I know we have Houston fans here, and that's okay too. Merrill and Mitchell, great to see the Hartson brothers together. Today they're back in Texas at the rain. No, they're at Houston now. They're going back to Houston today. Now, normally I would say that favors Houston, but as we all know, the Astros have clearly been better on the road than they have been at home. Vamos Diamondbacks. James K. Why know the lady and the legend? Well, Lenny's here, he's in the chat room, and he's feeling fine. He just needed a day off. Today we're having his son Mark over. He's 23, Mark and his girlfriend are coming over to watch the new Bill Burr comedy called Old Dads. We're going to have all kinds of sliders. Anyway, Lenny didn't get a great night's sleep last night, so he asked me if I would do the show today, and I said absolutely, because a guy needs a break. He does the show every day. Now we're going to, look, we have a little while longer, and I think if Lenny were here, he'd say, okay, enough of this. But, we talked about some player options yesterday for 2024, and I'm going to continue now with some more player options. Now, these are opt-out. They have the ability to opt out. Sean Manaea. Did we talk about him yesterday, Sean Manaea?
No, you stopped at him.
I stopped before?
Yes, you stopped at Sean Manaea.
Okay. Starting pitcher for the Giants, 1 year left on a 2-year deal, $25 million deal, so he's guaranteed $12.5 million if he decides not to opt out. And he did spend most of this season filling in a long relief role for San Francisco. His ERA was not good, 4.44 ERA with 128 strikeouts over 117 and 2/3 innings, spanning 37 appearances and 10 games started. He'll be 32 in February. He didn't pitch that many innings this year compared to normal. 117 and 2/3 innings. His walk rate went up to 3.21 per 9. His strikeout rate also went up, 9.79 per 9. His fastball velocity went up a little bit. It's at 93.6% here. Now, even though he did have a 4.44 ERA, I like to look at fielding independent percentage because it takes away things that are not in the pitcher's control. 3.90 FIP, which puts him under 4 ERA, which is obviously much better than a 4.44 ERA. He does strike out 25.7% of the batters that he faces, and he gets ground balls 40.9% of the time. Now, in the last 4 starts that he did, the last 4 appearances were all starts. He threw 24 innings, which averages out 6 innings per start, meaning he finished the season strong. He only walked 2 batters in September and struck out 18 in 24 innings. His ERA in his final 4 starts of the season was 2.25 with a .92 whip. Will he opt out or will he choose to stay in San Francisco? Guaranteed, San Francisco, if I were him, I would stay. There's no ballpark better in baseball for pitchers than San Francisco. So, with a $12.5 million guaranteed, and he is only 32 in February, so I have a feeling he's going to stay in his contract, take the $12.5 million, hope for a full, healthy season. 32 years old, he'll still be able to get a multi-year contract, right? So it's not over for this kid, that's for sure. How do you guys feel about Sean Manaea? Let's talk about Eduardo Rodriguez. He's got 3 years left on a 5-year, $77 million contract. Now, we think it's uncertain whether or not he will opt out after he had a strong second season with the Detroit Tigers. He finished it with 3.30 ERA, a 1.15 whip. Now, would he get more money on the open market than what's left on his current deal? I say he doesn't want to leave, okay? They already tried to trade him to the Dodgers, and he literally exercised his no-trade clause. Now, who in their right mind would do that, going from the team, the Tigers, a losing team, to the Dodgers, a winning team? And boy, couldn't those pesky Dodgers use Eduardo Rodriguez, okay? They certainly could have used him, but he said, no thanks. My family and I are happy in Detroit. They are building a team there, so hope is not lost for Detroit. You know, they've been in rebuild mode for several years now. I think he stays with the Tigers. He might be able to get more money, all right, if he left. But here's the thing. He pitched excellent the final 30 days of the season, okay? He had a .64 ERA, but he walked 5 batters in 14 innings. Still, here's the thing too about Eduardo Rodriguez. You know he has a history of getting hurt, right? This past season he was very healthy. He pitched 152 and 2/3 innings. But look at what he did in 2022. He pitched a career low 91 innings in 2022 and then bested that by 60 innings in 2023. So if you believe in the Verducci effect, you might have a question as to Eduardo Rodriguez's workload, although I really don't think it's as serious when it comes to guys that have been pitching in the league for so long. It's more for like youngsters who increase their innings pitched by a ton, right?
White sack out.
283 walks per 9. That's pretty darn good. And then he gives up less than a home run per 9. He has decent strikeout rate. 92.2 mile an hour fastball, was able to increase his velocity back up to what it was in 2021. His ERA was 3.30. His FIP was 3.66, so not a big difference there. And I think we can all agree that Eduardo Rodriguez had a much better season this year than he did in 2022. Good morning to White Sox Al. Thanks for joining us this morning. I know you probably expected to hear Lenny. He's here in the chat room, but it's just me today. Drew Smyly, is he draftable? Left-handed pitcher for the Cubbies. 1 year left on a 2-year, $19 million deal. It's $9.5 million guaranteed. I'm pretty sure Smyly is going to be back with the Cubbies in 2024. He had a 5 ERA this season and a 1.43 WHIP. His 4.96 FIP, okay, over 142 and a third innings. He's going to be 35 this June. In the very last outing of the season, 11 of his 28 pitches were strikes, and he retired only one batter before he was kicked out. He bounced between the bullpen and the rotation this year. He did make 23 starts and 18 relief appearances. So he's definitely going to be exercising his contract, in my opinion. Jorge Soler. Now, this guy is one of the ones that I think might actually opt out. He's got 1 year left on a 3-year, $36 million contract. So he's slated to earn $13 million in 2024. He also had an opt-out last offseason, but his stock is much better this year after he rebounded from an injury-plagued 2022. And he hit 36 homers with an .853 OPS. So he's 32 in February. He played in 137 games. He had 580 plate appearances, 36 home runs, 77 runs, 77 RBI. This guy bats top the lineup. He's excellent in every way. He should, I'm not going to say he should, but he absolutely could opt out of this contract that he's in order to get. But how much are people paying for a DH type of guy like this? He walks 11.4% of the time, so he's excellent. He's excellent in on-base leagues. His on-base percentage was .341. He strikes out 24% of the time, but let me tell you, that is an improvement on years past, and so that's looking good. Also, he improved huge on his contact rate. Last year it was only 66.7%. In 2023 it was 72%. He hits fly balls 46.3% of the time, and his home run to fly ball ratio went up to 21.2%. So he is just crushing this ball when he hits it. All right? Definitely a guy that can get the ball up in the air. He's better in on-base percentage leagues than he is in average leagues, but he's not going to kill you horribly. I mean, he bats .250, but his on-base percentage is .341. That is an excellent find in any on-base percentage league. We talk about this a lot, the difference between on-base percentage leagues and average leagues. If you're using that stat on-base percentage, you have a pool, your player pool opens up quite a bit. I mean, the top of mind is Kyle Schwarber, right? Who we love to talk about every day this postseason. He's absolutely an on-base percentage only guy. But this Jorge Soler could be effective in any league. And I'll tell you what, Miami is the worst place, okay? Maybe second to San Francisco, or maybe they're tied. These two parks are hell to hit home runs out of. Now, if he's hitting 36 home runs out of Miami ballpark, how many home runs would he hit out of Colorado? Okay, this guy would be Aaron Judge material in Colorado, no doubt about it. His home runs are definite home runs. When he hits them at home, for sure they'd be home runs at every park in baseball. So we love talking about Soler. I don't know how much he's going to cost. That's the thing. You get somebody in your league at draft time that has a big man crush on this guy, and he'll go for way too much money if you're not careful. What do we think about Ross Stripling? Starting pitcher, relief pitcher, that's what he's been. Giants, another great, a pitcher in a great ballpark. He's turning 34 next month. 1 year left on his 2-year, $25 million year deal. So that means $12.5 million guaranteed. He's coming off a 3.01 ERA over a career high 134 and a third innings for the Blue Jays in 2022. He pitched this year 5.36 ERA in 89 innings spanning 22 games and 11 starts. All right, he did miss an entire month with a back injury, and I've always kind of liked this guy, although he's never really had a place. And it's really tough to draft him in fantasy. I've done it a couple times, and it's, it hasn't really worked out for me, okay? Now, the thing about him is last year in Toronto, 134 innings. That means he can do it if he wants. He made 24 starts last year. Now, this year, he only made 11 starts. What do we think about him? His FIP was just as bad as his ERA. I will give him this. He had a back injury. In my opinion, this guy does not opt out. He would be crazy to opt out. Marcus Stroman, though, another guy who's probably now not going to opt out. He has a 3-year, $71 million deal, and he's got 1 year left. He missed more than a month due to injuries during the summer, and he ended up with an 8.29 ERA in his final 11 appearances. We're talking after the trade deadline. After the Cubbies decided not to trade this guy, he stunk it up. He'll probably choose to return to the Cubs for the final year of his deal. Now we have a whole list of player options next, but I'm not going to do those today. I'm just going to give Leonard the opportunity to say hello.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing, Leonard?
I'm doing good. Great job. Great job.
Thanks. Leonard's my biggest supporter and my biggest fan, okay? So, I really appreciate all of you coming into the chat room. Malpal, Tina, Meryl, Mitchell, Rotorius, Laura, Mary, Leonard Donaldson, James K., Eddie Heckman, Danny and Penny, Teresa, Big L on the prowl, Chris from Cambridge, Chris and Debbie Gallo. We appreciate all of you. I hope you have a wonderful day. No offense, Leonard Donaldson, but go Rangers. Who are you rooting for, Leonard?
Philadelphia.
He's rooting for Philadelphia even though they don't play today, okay? Who are you rooting for today?
I'm not. I root for Philadelphia.
He's only rooting for Philly, that's it. So you're rooting for Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper.
I picked them.
Because he picked him early, that's true. I'm scared to death of those Houston Astros, no doubt about it, okay? They are, I'm telling you, they do not quit ever. And Eovaldi, though, today's going to be a great game.
Yes.
We're going to have to watch this game. So I hope everybody enjoys their wonderful day. Boston Paul, you and Diana have a great road trip. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.